Okay, welcome back to Finding New Films. It's episode 13. I have a special guest with me today, Zack.
Hi.
The second Zack on this show.
Zack 2.
Zack 2. We call him Zack D. The former Zack C. So it's still kind of confusing in a way, but...
We're going in alphabetical order.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We'll have a Zack E and B on soon, so it'll be really, really easy to tell them apart,
That's true.
But this week was my pick, and I picked the movie Daughters of the Dust. I had no idea about anything about this movie before I picked it, really. I had read the plot synopsis one time, and I put it on a list, and I was like, whatever, yeah.
How'd you find this movie?
I believe I was looking up, I was trying to diversify the list, because I looked down it, and I was like, holy man.
It's white as hell, too.
Yeah, probably. So I think I looked up best movies directed by women, and then I looked up best international movies. And that's what I tacked on, like, the last 10 or 20 movies on the list were movies just directed by women or international films. So still a lot of white men, probably, with the international movies, but this movie was directed by a black woman. It's the first independent film ever produced by a black woman.
Is it really? I actually didn't even know that.
It's very crazy.
Wow.
So shout out to Julie Dash.
Goat.
Goat, yeah. Everybody says it. But yeah, this movie is really interesting. I've never seen a movie similar to it.
Mm-hmm.
What were your thoughts on it?
I didn't read the plot synopsis going into it. Normally, if it's like a movie I don't know anything about, I like to not know anything about it and just kind of let my thoughts take over as I'm watching the movie. I had no thoughts going into it. I did absolutely no research before watching it because I kind of enjoyed that. As I was watching it, though, I was like diving a little bit deeper into what it's all about. I enjoyed it.
That's cool. Yeah, I wish I could be that way.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I could just let the movie speak for itself, but I'm like, no, I have to know I have to know everything.
Of course.
But yeah, this movie is awesome. It's set around the culture of the Gulag people of the South Carolina Islands. It's very, very interesting. Just complete dive into their culture through 3 generations of women, and it's very, 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 very interesting.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll go ahead and get into the credits. This movie was 114 minutes, so right around, what is that, hour 50 minutes. Writer, Julie Dash, directed by Julie Dash. Scores done by John Barnes. Camera was beautifully done by Arthur Jaffa. Stars this movie were Coralie Day, Alva Rogers, Barbara O, Trula Huger, and cast remained with Umar Abdur-Rahman. I think I said that right. Abdur-Rahman. Yeah. Cheryl Lynn Bruce, Tommy Redmond Hicks, Eartha Robinson, Bonnie Turpin, Jabario Cuthbert, and Cornell Royal.
These are pretty lesser-known people are working on this film. I think that's the point.
Yeah, it felt very, you can tell there was no, what is that, the sound design, what is it called? Gaffing? Yeah, there was no gaffing.
None at all.
This was pure recorded sound.
Yes.
And I like it. I think it added to the movie, honestly. I don't think that the movie would have survived. I don't know about survived, but I don't think it really would have benefited from having had a gaffer.
Like 70% of the movie takes place outside.
Yeah.
I'd say maybe more than that, actually.
Just like sand noises.
Like you just have like a recording of like just like birds chirping, just like for like an entire scene.
Those birds were really loud.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
That was
quite distracting.
That was really, really funny, honestly.
No.
Alrighty, I'm going to get into the plot now. Okay. So, do this. I'm going to do this with no fuck-ups. Okay.
Got this.
Daughters of the Dust is set in 1902 among the members of the Peasant family, Gula Islanders who live at Ibo Landing on Datwa Island, now known as St. Simons Island, off the Georgia coast. Their ancestors were brought here as enslaved people centuries ago, and the islanders developed a language known as Gula, or Sea Island Creole English, and culture that was creolized from West Africans of Igbo, Yoruba, Mende, and Twi origin, along with some influence from the Bakangu, Central Africa, as well as the cultures and languages of the British Isles, with the common variety of English being the superstratum in this case. Developed in their relative isolation of large plantations on the island, the enslaved people's unique culture and language have endured over time. Their dialogue is in Gula Creole. Narrated by the unborn child, the future daughter of Eli and Eula, whose voice is influenced by accounts of her ancestors, the film presents poetic visual images, and circular narrative structures to represent the past, present, and future for the Gula, the majority of whom who are about to embark for the mainland in a more modern, civilized way of life. The old ways of the African ancestral history are represented by community matriarch Nana Pazant, who practices African spiritual rituals. Nana tells her family as she bids them to remember and honor their ancestors as they embark on their new journey. We are two people in one body, the last of the old and the first of the new. I love that line.
That was fun.
Contrasting cousins Viola, a devout Christian, and Yellow Mary, a free spirit who has brought her lover, Trula, from the city, arrive at the island by boat from their homes on the mainland for a dinner with their family. Yellow Mary plans to leave for Nova Scotia after her visit. Mr. Sneed, a mainland photographer, accompanies Viola and takes portraits of the islanders before they leave their way of life forever. Intertwined with these narratives is the marital rift between Eli and his wife Eula, who is about to give birth after being raped by a white man on the mainland. Eli struggles with the fact that their unborn child may not be his, and his mother's pressures for him to maintain his connection to his ancestors. The unborn child of Eli and Eula narrates the film, tracing the legacy before her birth. Several other family members' stories unfold between these narratives. They include Hagar, a cousin who finds the old spiritual beliefs and provincialism of the island backwards and is impatient to leave for a more modern society with its educational and economic opportunities. Her daughter Iona longs to be with her secret lover, St. Julian Lastchild, a Cherokee Native American, a resident of the island. Lastchild presents Iona with a letter confessing his devotion the day of Iona's departure, asking her to stay with him. While the women prepare a traditional meal for the feast, which includes okra, yams, and shellfish prepared at the beach, the men gather nearby in groups to talk and play games. The children and teenagers play games, practice ritual rites on the beach, and have a Bible study session with Viola. Yellow Mary and Eula bond as survivors of rape, and Bilal Muhammad, a cousin that is believed to be Igbo but hails from the French West Indies, leads a Muslim prayer. Nana evokes the spirits of the family's ancestors who worked on the island's indigo plantations. Nana combines the power of their ancestors with Viola's Bible as a symbol of the old and the new. Eula and Eli reveal the history of folklore of the slave uprising and mass suicide at Ibo Landing. The Peasant family make their final decisions to leave the island for a new beginning or stay behind and maintain their way of life. Yellow Mary chooses to stay on the island along with Eli and Eula. In tears, Iona jumps off the boat, departing as Lastchild comes to take her on horseback. Hagar is held back by another family member while calling for her daughter. Remaining family members watch as most of the Peasants finally depart. Not mentioned in that for some reason is the fact that Eula and Eli decided to stay in the South Carolina Islands. Mm-hmm. I'm not really sure why that's left out.
It's pretty.
Oh, no, it is. Yellow Mary chooses to stay on the island along with Eli and Eula.
True.
I don't have a reading comprehension.
Don't need one. It's okay.
That was Daughters of the Dust.
Mm-hmm.
A very interesting movie that I would probably, like on a Sunday afternoon, it's a very nice, uplifting movie.
It's a peaceful one.
Remind you of, where you come from.
Of course.
Remind you to make sure you remember where you come from. And I really enjoyed the whole message of the movie. I really did.
That is what it boils down to, I'd say. A bit of like changing, like the world is changing, and like the world's industrializing as well. Like it's time to adapt in a way, but also remember like where you come from.
Yeah, and I mean, you can imagine it's you can imagine their perspective as well of being like, well, we kind of want to go. There's a great line, and I keep bringing this back up. I've told two of my roommates about this movie, and like the line that I brought up was like, their line was, I want vegetables on my table at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And it's like where they live now, they can't yield that harvest.
Yeah.
And that has to be pretty difficult, and it has to weigh on your mind a lot, especially when you start having children. You gotta care for other people. It's like, I mean, we got civilization right there.
They're pretty isolated too.
Yeah.
So it's like it's far out.
Right. It'd be one thing to live in the boonies, but living on an island separated from mainland, it's just hard. Yeah. I think the movie did a really good job of like grounding the perspective.
Yeah. I agree. I had no idea that this like subset of African American culture existed even before this movie.
I had no idea either.
And we live one state away. So
right. And I'm pretty sure, I'm pretty sure Gulag stretches up into North Carolina, into the Outer Banks, up near Elizabeth City. I'm pretty sure, the rural areas up near there, and up into Virginia, near Virginia Beach as well, and into Georgia, from what I read.
Yeah.
But they're also known as Geechee people. I had no idea. And they have their own Creole that they speak. It's very, very interesting. This is one of those movies where not much happens, really.
No.
But
there's a rise of action.
Yeah,
of course.
But what you take away from the movie is more important than what happens in the movie.
Yeah.
And I love movies like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's really good. I really like the opening on a Carolina sunset. There's nothing prettier that you can look at. We'll go ahead and get over this. The cinematography in this movie is incredible.
It's the best part of the movie.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Nature.
Just like the start of with those crossfades. It's just it's magical. It's literally like they hit golden hour like every time too.
It's beautiful.
Seriously.
That cinematographer deserves all the money and praise.
I saw that he won the highest award you can win at Sundance for cinematography.
He should.
Yeah,
he deserves that.
More than that.
More everything. And money, the whole bag.
Beautiful.
The whole bag. Honestly, I can't get over it enough. The nature, when anybody can put nature into perspective in a beautiful way, love it. Roger Deakins and the assassination of Jesse James.
Yeah.
We watched that for the podcast, and that dude just doesn't. He never lets up.
He is always popping off. I will say
he's the guy.
Yeah.
That's the GOAT.
For real.
We're going to talk about a GOAT.
He's number one.
Number one in my book. I thought the dialogue in this movie was really well written too.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really understand. Like, I have no concept of like what that would sound like actually.
Right.
But if I was to assume,
it
seems pretty realistic to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I was reading. The subtitles are funny because it actually was not subtitling what they were saying.
No, it was like a translation basically.
Yeah. So that was interesting. At least I was glad I had that as kind of a reference because there was definitely some times where I probably would have gotten.
It would have gone over my head.
Gone over my little colonizer head. But I don't know. This movie was really cool. I really like the dialogue in it, and I don't know why I keep saying this movie is really cool.
It is cool though.
It is really cool.
The movie feels really like personal to the director.
Yeah.
And I did more research on it, and like her ancestry comes from the Geechee.
Yeah, you can feel it for sure.
Yeah.
It's palpable. So glad that she gets to do that and be, the producer of the movies. No one's telling her what she can and can't do.
Yeah.
because this is one of those movies where you can't really have someone telling you or giving you input into what you're doing because it doesn't translate.
She's the expert on this
Exactly.
in this situation, so there's no one else that could really tell her what's right or wrong in this movie.
And she directed the movie really well.
Yeah.
I thought it was put together well.
Mm-hmm.
The beginning of the movie may have lagged a little bit for me.
It was slow. I'm gonna be honest. The first time I tried to watch it, I fell asleep. But I also started at like 1 a.m, so that probably was not a good move on my part.
Yeah, I did the exact same thing. I was trying to watch it at like 12:30, and I was like, I'm gonna fall asleep. Yeah, I could feel it.
Yeah.
Eyes getting heavy.
Uh-huh.
But when I did actually get to watching it, it made me late for work, which I don't really mind. But it was great. I don't know why I keep repeating myself, but I really enjoyed it. I guess I'll try to get in more specific thoughts in. I loved when they called out the Yankees for being complicit in slavery. I mean, I'm not being like, yeah, we were in the very wrong, and then much very more wrong. But yeah, I mean, I enjoyed them not just glossing over that. Like, you think you're going to go to the north. I loved that they repeated that too. It's like, you think you're going to go to the north and you're going to find like prosperity, and it's like, you got a whole nother thing coming.
It's true. For a movie made in 1991, this is way ahead of its time.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I don't know anything that was this culturally ahead of, like, this far ahead of the curve from the 90s. Like, that's when Goodfellas came out. Like, there's nothing similar to this in that era.
When you think about Goodfellas and how, like, culturally unconscious it sometimes feels, I mean, it's culturally conscious Italians.
Yes. I mean, like, what does that even mean? It's always about Italians. Like,
yeah, any mafia movie, you have, like, a good Italian scene where they're sitting around eating food together. But, in this movie, there's, like, more of a closeness of just family in general. But I don't really know where I was going with that.
It's okay.
I really like the line where Nana said she's gonna have something for him. if they went up to the north, she's like, I'm gonna have something for you. Nana's packing, so you just keep an eye out for that.
Nana's got that thing on her.
Nana keeping that thing. She was a good actress.
Oh yeah, I think the best performance in the movie
for sure.
I'd say
her performance felt the most grounded, the most real, most believable. I should say.
Absolutely.
Eula had some scenes where she was really overdramatic.
Yeah. I'd agree with that.
And it was like I felt like I was watching a theater play.
At times, it feels a little soapy.
Yeah.
I think, though, mostly because the music, at times, the music started off hard. Like really good percussion, just, like, really good music. But at times, it, like, sounded like really, like, corny synth music from, like, a 90s sitcom. I'm not sure why. It was a really strange choice. Like, it just, like, completely contradicted everything that it was set up before it, but...
I have that in my notes. I said the score's weird, and in parts it's nice, but it's very dated.
Yeah.
It shows its age very easily. You're like, wait, when was this movie made?
Yeah.
It feels like the movie was made in 1981 when you listen to the score.
It's true. It reminded me of Full House, the soundtrack of Full House.
Literally.
I don't know why.
Yeah,
that was like in my notes.
It has like
90s sitcom like Full House.
Exactly. Yeah. That's like it was moving between like the percussion. Then it was moving right into that like 90s like synth or 80s synth. It was super weird. I was like really thrown off by that, but I thought that scene between Nana and Eli was really good.
That one was really good.
Where Eli is kind of like pleading with her, is like, you're putting all this pressure on me, to make my family be like connected to my ancestors. Like, what if I don't want that?
Yeah.
What if I just want to like raise my kid the way I want to raise it? She's like, yeah, but my way.
Yeah, that's true. It was really random when he just pulled out like tobacco out of his pocket.
Grabba.
Yeah.
It's like, bro, what is this for?
It was just like he was just like, I have something in my pocket. And he just pulled out like a big wad of tobacco and gave it to her. And that was it.
That was the scene.
Nothing else came of that.
That must be symbolic, but
it has something else to do with it, I'm sure. Yeah.
That one definitely went over my head.
Yeah.
I have a note that says this movie is very indie. Like, very, 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 hey, do you know somebody that has a camera? Most good... we watched Clerks on here. That's about as, hey, do you have a camera as you can get.
It's true.
But, this movie definitely felt that way as well. I don't know what the budget was for this movie. I did not see.
It was $800,000. I don't know what that is adjusted for inflation, but it looked like they shot like a good majority of it outside. So,
right.
So like shooting on a location is more expensive than shooting like in a studio. So I feel like they probably used most of the budget on that.
Yeah.
I don't know where it was shot though, because that could. I mean, like if they shot it in like the South, that would be absolutely brutal. Like the humidity, like they were wearing like suits on the beach.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't sound like a comfortable time.
I wouldn't advise that at all.
Mm-hmm.
It's like sounds like Mad Max.
Yeah, it says that they shot it on the South Carolina coast.
Wow. Authenticity, I'll take it. I hate that OBX show. They filmed that show in Charleston.
My girlfriend goes to UNC. She told me that there's a line in that show where they say that they take a ferry to Chapel Hill. And if you're a North Carolina native, no, you can't do that. No, it's impossible. Actually,
no rivers to go to like
not one.
That's gonna be the next edition. Just the North Carolina flag.
Yeah.
So whenever I reference it, I can be like, so.
we know it all about North Carolina.
But yeah, basically, if 3 hours of mainland ferry.
If you can make that happen.
If you can ride a boat for 2, maybe 2.5, maybe 2, I don't know.
Through the coastal plains.
If you can ride a ferry up I-40, I would give you, like, so much money.
Without towing it, either.
Right. Yeah, that's insane. I did not know that. Yeah. You made me hate the shows
I still haven't seen it. I refuse, to be honest.
I refuse as well.
Mm-hmm.
All these characters had pretty weird mannerisms. That probably just comes from not being actors.
Yeah.
But some of them just had, like, super odd, especially, like, Eula especially, I feel like. She was emoting very interestingly.
Going hard.
Yeah, she was...
A little too hard.
Yeah, she got lost in the role. Somebody needs to show her back to the door, I think. But yeah, I don't know. Any thoughts from you?
We already touched on this. Really like the dialogue. Oh, I saw that the movie was like it represented the culture so well that the U.S. Film Registry selected it to be preserved.
I think I saw that.
That made me happy to hear.
That is cool.
I felt like the only is there any like pieces of media that you feel like you could compare this to? Because there was only one that came to mind, and it's definitely not the same at all. But it was Red Dead Redemption. I guess like the time period, like the industrialization.
Yeah.
Kind of has something to do with ancestry, but that was the only thing I felt like thematically fit in the same kind of role as well.
Yeah. Maybe something like Dances with Wolves, maybe.
True. Yeah.
More recently, something like because that's just kind of like a thriller. I was gonna say, what's that movie with Leo DiCaprio that he won for?
The Revenant.
I was gonna say that, but it's too. That movie's way too intense.
Yeah.
And the movie's dark, sad. Yeah, it's
very
the
sad.
Worst possible comparison. Yeah, no, I can't really think of one.
No, it's not really. It stands on its own, I will say.
Yeah.
Very well, too.
Yeah,
Very well.
I think so. I think it's very noticeable that a woman directed this movie. This movie never just resulted in direct crazy violence out of nowhere, or random misogynistic lines.
It's just
it was
solid drama.
Yeah, it's just a super solid, just day in the life of the Gullah people.
Yeah.
So I don't know, just the most innocent possible family movie.
Yeah.
As someone who watches like A24 movies, I don't know that an innocent family exists.
No.
You wouldn't think that one does.
I felt like I was like waiting for something like crazy to happen because
Yeah.
that's all I watch. Like I feel like recently all I've watched is like David Lynch movies. It's just like nonsense after nonsense after nonsense, and this is just like the complete opposite of that.
Oh, for sure. I watched Memento last night.
Yeah.
And like comparing Memento to this, you're just like, what?
It's not even in the same realm.
Yeah, there's so little movies that are just made because it's like, oh, well, I want to teach you like a virtue of life.
Yeah, no, actually.
Like a positive virtue of life. And then sometimes, even when you argue with your family, you still love them.
Yeah. And there's no like bells or whistles attached to it either.
Yeah.
It's just like
nobody has to die.
No.
Nobody has to hate each other or fight physically. It can just be talked about. It can just sometimes you can sit down and just talk to someone.
Yeah.
And get through it. Love your family. So crazy, dude. I don't even know who the hell thought this shit up.
Our girl Julie Dash.
I love Julie Dash.
Yeah.
I love the Stereopticon, the little
oh yeah
thing. I love that popping up. That was cool.
And then like when they cut to like just like old shots from like silent films at the same time, you could tell that wasn't like what is that where you saw where like the kid was like playing with it? Yeah, okay. I don't know that it wasn't really. I guess it had to do with like the voiceover more than anything, like where they cut to that. But I like the shot where I just thought it was cute. I guess where they're like taking pictures of all the men on the beach, and then like the little girl like just pops up. He's just like what? I thought that was cute. Cute little moment.
That was cute.
Yeah.
That was very 90s.
Yeah.
Let's just put this in. That's
cute.
Mm-hmm. I can hear that was probably their justification for putting it in the movie. Oh, it's cute.
It's cute, yeah. It is.
Alrighty. We gotta set up a break. We're gonna talk more about our thoughts when we come back from this break. But stick around. I don't need to say much more. Just stick around for the next part of the podcast. You've already watched this much.
Here comes an eHarmony ad just for you.
Alright. Sound like an old man.
It's true. I'm getting old now, guys. 23.
A whole 23. I'm 22 still.
When's your birthday?
July.
What the?
21st.
Hey. A week apart from my sister.
Damn. That's crazy. People just be getting born.
It's true. Every once in a while.
Every day, I think.
Possibly.
People die, though, too.
Every day.
Welcome back.
Hey.
Let's keep talking about a good movie.
Yes.
Fill you back in. We've been watching Daughters of the Dust.
Mm-hmm.
This movie was good. I'll just keep saying it.
Yes, it was good. I enjoyed it.
It was a movie that exists.
It was.
I really like the part where this is a quote from the movie because I have it in quotations.
Yeah.
It says, "Eula say, we the bridge that they cross over on. We're the tie between then and now." And that hurt my feelings a lot. That our race used to do that to people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was a great line. Beautifully poetic. There's a lot of the lines like that where they just kind of dig into your heart, and for good reason. And that is one of them. And I really enjoyed that line.
Yeah. It's pretty deep, I will say. But it definitely represents what African American culture is, I would say.
Unfortunately.
And what the generation gap is. Sadly, of course.
Yeah. And then the whole fact of them trying to get out of it by moving north, and then having the elders basically be like, "We're not going to be treated any better there."
That's true.
And they kind of have that realization too, and like a lot of them feel that they are probably right.
Yeah.
The people that are saying that are probably right in some form.
That island is kind of like their paradise, I will say.
Yeah.
They have no one bothering them there.
Yeah.
It's just them.
So, I mean, you can see both sides of the story, and both sides of the perspective. And I think that's why this movie works so well, because the main focal talking point, what is it called?
Theme?
When people disagree about something.
Yes.
No.
Words.
Yeah, they do that. Anyway, you can see the main conflict.
There we go. Yes.
In the movie. Wow, that is embarrassing. The main conflict in the movie is basically predicated on that idea. So when you can see both sides of the idea, it makes for that much better of a movie.
Yeah.
Just like when the Marvel villain makes a good point. You're just like, you're that much into it. You're like, damn. Well, he is right. The Marvel the Marvel heroes do just destroy all the cities. Why are they the heroes? So, kind of like that, because I'm dumbing it down for myself.
That's fair.
But they do that. And it's really good, really well written, and I thought it was like, I thought the movie was pretty well edited.
Yeah, it works in a way that it wasn't like it was nothing too jarring. I'd say cut to cut, it all worked cool, flowed well.
There's a lot of good montage scenes.
It was it's non-linear, if I'm correct, right?
I think maybe
there's like parts where it just like jumps back in time.
I think so. It's very unclear.
Yeah, it is.
That is one thing about this movie, is like, while it feels so so thought out, and it feels so not direct, but it feels so pointed. It knows exactly what it wants to say.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it also feels abstract in the way that it's put together. And that's really interesting, from like just a direction and an editing standpoint.
Yeah.
Because that was mostly when those synth scenes would come by. Is just in these random moments of editing, it would become abstract because of the synth in the score. And I'm not really sure what it was supposed to symbolize. I haven't come to a conclusion of how I feel about it. But, yeah.
I think I just want to talk about the visuals one more time, because it's just so. I would really enjoy to watch, just like throw this movie on like the TV with like no sound.
Yeah.
And just be able to like have it as like a good audio or a visual guide in some way. Just to like, it just looks so good.
It's really pretty.
It is beautiful.
North Carolina being pretty really helps it out.
Yeah,
but
it's true.
Well, not North Carolina, but the Carolinas.
Yes.
The Carolinas being pretty really help it out.
It's beautiful.
And the sunset, the sunset on the Carolina coast is immaculate. So, it had that going for it too. But to be able to capture it as well as he did, you have to really be a
master of your craft.
A master, yeah, and he is. So,
has he done anything else?
I did not know,
because I hadn't heard of him until this.
I had never heard of him either. I think I had read. I looked him up, and I think I had seen where he went to Howard. Born in Tupelo, Mississippi.
Don't know a lot of his work.
That's unfortunate.
He produced a Kanye West music video.
Canceled.
That's crazy. Wow,
yeah.
actually, it looks like he does a lot of music videos nowadays. That's really cool.
Well, as long as he feels fulfilled in his creative endeavors.
That's all that matters.
I also like the line in the movie, buzzards don't circle around in the air for fun. Thought that was an awesome line.
That's a bar right there.
That is a really good line. She dropped that when she was talking about why Mary came home.
Ah, yes.
And it was a good line. Mm-hmm. I'm just gonna leave it at that. It was a good line. Yeah, I got right here. Movie starts slow and too abstract, but it comes around eventually.
I enjoyed the beginning abstractions, I will say, but it definitely didn't hook me.
Yeah,
per se.
I think for me it went a little too far on it, but what does my opinion matter?
Yeah, this is still a successful movie.
I want to say, based on that, I don't know if was this on the podcast or off. We were talking about an ox getting killed in Apocalypse Now.
Yes.
I think it was before the podcast, but we brought up how in Apocalypse Now, the ox gets murdered for real. There was a chicken getting defeathered.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if that was a real chicken. I wonder that all the time now when I see an animal getting harmed. I'm like, was any animal harmed in the? They
normally say at the end in the credits there are no animal. I didn't check to see though.
I would love to see that in the Apocalypse Now. It's like no animals were harmed.
They'd be lying out their ass.
Excuse me. I really wouldn't put it past Francis Coppola though. No. It does not really surprise me that much. And they were filming in Vietnam, so they have different film roles. So
he was going balls to the wall on that. So, I mean, I'm not justifying him killing an ox, but I can understand his placement of it in the film.
Right.
It fits the tone, I would say.
I feel like maybe he thinks he can do anything after that run he had in the 70s with Godfathers and the two Godfathers, and then that movie right after. I mean, you gotta feel like you can do literally anything. Yeah. So it's like, fuck it, I'm gonna put an ox getting killed in the movie. I don't care.
It's off topic, but have you seen The Conversation by Francis Ford Coppola?
I have not.
Also in that era of in the 70s of his run of movies, and it's like a spy espionage. Good stuff.
I'll check it out.
Highly recommend it.
Zach's recommendation of the week. That'll come again the next time you go in a few weeks. I have my next note says agua. Agua. She just randomly asked the guy, "How do you say water in French?" Agua. And then she was like, agua. I was like, why are they just saying agua?
Just silly.
Silly stuff. That's one thing about this movie. It's just kind of the silliness of it.
It's a little hard to take that seriously at times, but I can still respect it.
It kind of just makes you feel like you're watching someone's real family. Yeah. Because you're like, wow, that's kind of cringy.
Exactly.
I really like the scene where Eula and Mary were sitting in the tree. Mary was sitting in the tree and Eula was on the ground, looking up at her and her lover. Looking up at Mary and her lover. It was really nice. They had a really good bonding.
They say what the lover's name was? Or they just call her
I have it up here. Trula?
Trula, yes.
the fight scene was hilarious, where they fake fought. That was really, really funny.
They were swinging.
They were swinging. They were going after each other. That montage scene on the beach after they say the rain was coming was really nice. That that beach festival that they had.
Yeah, that was.
And then it was followed by the feast, which was really good. It was just all around, just really, really good.
All around.
And the girl who played Iona was a really good actress too. The girl who was in love with the Native American.
Ah, yes.
She was really good. I thought she really did a good job of just without having to say much of anything, making you understand how she felt. So good. I guess good facial expressions is what I should say, which is a part of acting. But another part. Oh, I wanted to highlight that another good actress performance was from the woman who married into the family. I don't remember her name, but the only one that didn't speak with the Gula accent.
Yes.
I don't remember her name.
Remember her name.
But she was good at. She was a really good actress. In her, she was the foil basically to Nana's character.
Right.
And I thought her character was really well done. And she also really represented she felt like she held a lot of shame for one of her kids to be raised that way. She was the exact opposite of how Nana felt about it, where you have to live there forever. But I thought they really wrote the character with nuance, and you could understand where she was coming from.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, she was being really cruel to Nana about it. Unnecessarily cruel. Just I don't want my kids to live like that. Just calling her rituals witchcraft and shit. It's bro, let's calm down with that.
She's just being a hater.
Yeah.
But also, Nana don't got vegetables, so kind of a valid point.
That is a valid point. I like that the photographer was also a separation where you see a separation of Black Americans in America and African Americans in America.
Yeah.
And because a lot of times they're grouped together, or older Gen Xers will be an African American man.
Just call them all that.
Do you mean a black man, or do you mean an African American man? There's a very large difference. We are 100, almost 200 years away from slavery. You know that, right, guys? They are not all African Americans. Quote that I enjoyed: "Women are the sweetness of life." Facts.
Spit in.
And then I really enjoyed the ritualistic Bible kissing scene. I thought it was cool.
I think that was the thematic climax of it, where it's just kind of accepting both as one, kind of back to the quote, where it was I don't know, it was there's two and in one. It's just it was a good representation of accepting new ways.
I agree. I thought that scene was incredibly well done as far as getting across, like you said, the thematic climax, and just kind of. It's a beautiful climax where there's no conflict. It's literally just the resolution of conflict is the climax of the there's no physical I guess there's a verbal conflict because they're kind of screaming at each other.
Yeah.
And then what's the woman's name who is the Christian? She starts blood curdling scream.
Yeah.
Viola. That was
she's a hater for real.
She a hater
Sacrilegious, I
for
guess.
real.
I don't know.
God damn. Yeah. Cool to see sapphic representation. Some more of that on FNF.
Mm-hmm.
Had it in Mulholland Drive. But it wasn't explored. And it wasn't really explored here either. She was kind of just like there.
When in Mulholland Drive?
They had like a scene where they kissed.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I misunderstood. I misunderstood what you meant.
Yeah.
That's my bad.
Just women loving women.
Yeah.
In intimate ways and non-intimate ways. This movie was really good for that, of showing like intimate ways in which women have relationships with one another, and non-intimate ways in which women have loving relationships with one another. Very healthy for women to see each other having loving relationships with one another on screen, I believe. Controversial opinion, I know. But I thought, if anybody can do it well, it's a fellow woman. So
agreed.
They Julie Dash, the goat,
knocked it out
striking
of the park.
again.
Yeah.
And then I thought, I think the resolution is powerful. And then my last two notes says, first, Iona choosing to be with the indigenous man instead of going north was really powerful to me.
Agreed. He pulls up on that horse too. That shot
speed.
of him riding on the sunset, like on the sunset with on the water. Beautiful.
Jaffa again. Beautiful. The goat, Arthur Jaffa again at the work. Secondly, I had Eula deciding to stay after realizing her love for the islands and how she didn't want to have the idea or the potential of having a rapist's baby.
Yeah.
Live in a privileged life, or not privileged life, but in a city lifestyle, and have them be grounded like she was, and just kind of realizing that she loves Nana and the islands themselves. That was really sweet, I felt like. And then Yellow Mary, obviously, staying with Nana was extremely sweet. So shout out her. We can get into themes, so we can just do the list for the last part, I guess. Got about 10 minutes here. So for themes, you just want to run through them instead of going one by one. I can run through mine. And then...
Yeah.
Did you have them?
I have them written down.
Gotcha. I'll just go through mine.
Go for it.
I have African American struggles, modernization of society, remember, recall, recollect, their mantra in the movie. Remembering your past, tradition versus change, circle of life, companionship is salvation, facing darkness, evils of racism, faith versus doubt, maternal figures, hazards of passing judgment, love and sacrifice, names, their power and their significance, nature is beauty, the role of religion, virtues and their hypocrisies, will to survive, and the wisdom of experience.
You nailed those.
Thank you.
I had a very short list. I had, obviously, racism and that compared to the industrialization of the world. Holding on to your ancestry, African American struggle. I didn't go as in depth as you did.
No, I honestly I have a list of common themes that I look at, and I mostly just pick from there, but I'll just kind of read through the list and just kind of pick. And this is where what changed my idea of this movie, or my perception of how I felt about this movie after finishing it. Because at first I was like, I didn't know that I was really feeling it, and then kind of reflecting on it more, I liked it more and more as I reflect on it. And even doing this has made me like it more. I'm actually going to change my rating after we've talked about it. But this movie, as I was reading out all these themes and noticing everything that I could pull out of this movie, you kind of start going wow, maybe I did learn a lot of stuff. Yeah. Not learn, but I experienced a lot of stuff in this movie, and so for that alone, I really, that popped out to me, and that had me change my perspective a little bit, the way I was looking at it. So, Yeah. Do you have any more thoughts on the themes of the movie that you anything that um, you know anything we talked about? Do you have any last thoughts or anything?
I will say, it is not like the usual movie that I would throw on, but I think it's worth your time
Right.
to watch something like this. How much it sounds, to be honest.
Maybe. I will say the same. I don't know. This is a movie that I would have ever just casually thrown on by myself.
No.
So I'm glad that it's one that stood out to me at probably midnight on like a Monday when I was researching for this.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that it did pop up because I really enjoyed it, and I would have never seen it otherwise.
Me
So in that regard, it was really cool. And I hope that through this podcast, I had that last week actually, or I guess we filmed it like 2 days ago. But me and David watched La Haine. It's a French crime drama.
I've never seen it. I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's like super anarchist. It had a lot of really cool metaphors in it. It's pretty brisk, like really quick, 1 hour 30. It's anarchist, so it's like punk. So it really moves, and
I love an hour 30 movie.
Quick hour 30.
That's awesome.
And it's a quick one too.
Yeah.
You're just like I got to the end scene, like the very last scene, and I was like, what? I'm like, wait a minute, what?
Yeah.
There's 10 minutes left.
Yeah.
I love stuff like that.
This movie didn't feel like it overstayed its welcome. I will say hour 14 is, or what was it?
It was
hour 14. Right?
It was hour 50.
Hour 50 doesn't feel like an hour 50.
It didn't. I did think with a lot of the montages, I think that kind of kicked the pace up a notch a little bit.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's like they did so much with the story that they were telling. Not so much like moving the story along, but they had so much to say about the topics within the movie, or like every argument had multiple perspectives, and all of the perspectives were fully fleshed out.
That is rare.
Exactly.
That is so rare in
and
a movie.
To do it eloquently.
Yeah.
Because you can a lot of times do that and sound like a dumb person trying to sound smart, and this movie sounds like an extremely intelligent person showing you exactly how intelligent they are.
Yeah.
And that is another refreshing thing.
That is a rare feat to have, I will say. I don't know many movies that are coming out that are that eloquent. You're right. Very valid.
So that's a real thing that we're missing in movies now, and I hope that it comes back.
Yeah.
I feel like studios like Neon and A24 and all these indie studios that are popping up nowadays, they're trying to get back to it, and they're trying their hardest, like Everything Everywhere All at Once. A24 knocked it out of the park with that producing.
Yeah.
But obviously those guys that directed and wrote that movie are incredible.
I don't feel like a lot of movies are as personal nowadays either. I mean, just in general, I'd say not nowadays, because it is rare for movies to be super personal.
Yeah.
But this is just like the shining example of a movie that is personable to this Julie Dash. Like, this is about her and her ancestry and her family. Like, you don't see that too often.
I agree.
Unless it's like a documentary, I guess. But like a fictionalized version of like your ancestry, I don't know anything like that.
Right, and setting it as a period piece in a period that you never lived in.
Right.
So Julie Dash is incredible for being able to pull this movie off. I was going to say it's so easy for Netflix nowadays to just slap like $20 million onto some action movie and try to get it to pop back out that same amount of money, or a little bit more than that. But it's so much harder to make a movie that actually takes care and understanding and takes like time to put together and actually execute.
Yeah.
So
it's a very flawed system that is in the Netflix, just pumping anything and everything out.
Yeah, just pumping and dumping, but it's movies.
Making them a lot more expendable, which I will say can be expendable.
Yeah,
but I enjoy it when they're not.
Right, movies are capitalism.
Yeah.
And that's just a sad reality that we live in.
Not this movie though. This movie is not capitalism.
This movie not capitalist. This movie is very much communist.
Yeah. I mean, they basically live on a commune, so this movie is communism.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
If you think about it, if you're a big brain person, you would really understand that it's actually communist. But yeah, I think that's really it. I think it's time to get into the list, so I'm gonna transition into a break now. I'm gonna do it a little bit early this time, but that's fine. This movie didn't have too much plot-driven stuff, so there's not too much to talk about on that front. So we're gonna go into the list. We're gonna put it on the list, and we'll be done.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I'll do the podcast. Can we film like next week though? It's like, no, dude. I have a schedule for this.
It's true.
Anyway, welcome back to Finding New Films.
It's your boys.
I'm not angry. I'm just
pissed off.
Yeah. Alrighty. We're gonna get this over with. We've wasted enough of your time.
Time to waste some more.
Yeah. This isn't a waste of your time though.
No, this is fun.
You've been loving this.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and go first, I suppose. Of course, this is my movie. I did change my rating since we started. I had given this movie a 7. I'm going to give it a 7.25, 7 quarters. I thought it deserves it. I feel like this movie deserves that. Yeah, I don't have to say. I don't have to justify myself to you, camera. Yeah, what was yours?
I'm going to give it a wholesome 7.
It's fair.
Yeah.
I think it's fair. So we got a 14.25. It's going to go in at number 11. 11 out of 13. And I think that's fair. Above Airplane. I think a lot of people would be surprised that it's above Casino Royale.
That's like a dad flick. Yeah. My dad loves that movie.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure my dad enjoys that movie a lot too. I actually walked downstairs. My dad was watching like the last Daniel Craig 007. So
fell asleep watching that one.
The one with Rami Malek.
Yep, fell asleep.
I can imagine.
In the theaters too. I've never done that before. Fell asleep in the theaters.
I fell asleep watching Ad Astra in the theater, and it's number 2 up here. So.
Did you get a good nap in though?
Yeah, it was great. It was a reclining theater. Oh, it was great. And then like it's a space movie, so it's basically silent. Yeah. And it's just like the rocket moving through. It's like vibrating the whole theater. It was incredible.
Just well rested after that.
Oh yeah.
Massage chair, basically.
I hit REM sleep. Parents had to tap me awake. It was bad. They would have left me there if I didn't wake up. But because my parents hate me. No. But yeah, cool. Daughters in the Dust. It's 11 out of 13. I think it's fair.
Yeah.
And next time you're on, it'll be your choice. So.
Excited to.
I don't know if you want to be on.
No, I'm down for another one. I'm down to watch something just like the complete opposite of this too.
Balls to the walls. Just insane.
Yeah, so we're going to be watching next week Solo.
Next week we'll be watching Mad Max Fury Road.
Is that actually your pick for next week?
No, it's not. No.
Gotcha.
I will be watching an Unhinged movie next week. I'll be watching Barbarian.
I've heard about this, actually. A lot of people have told me about that.
Have you ever heard of the comedy troupe Whitest Kids You Know?
I do know
You know Zack from Whitest Kids You Know.
One of them
directed the movie. He directed Barbarian. Yeah.
I heard it was really good. A lot of people were telling me about it recently.
Yeah,
so.
And I will say rest in peace Trevor Moore. Because love that guy.
Right.
But, Zach Kreger directed Barbarian, and I when I heard that, busted out laughing. That is the most insane fact of 2022 for me.
Would not expect that. Didn't know he was doing much of anything nowadays, to be honest.
They were about to revamp Whitest Kids You Know into a show again, and I'm guessing when that fell apart, maybe this came up for him. I have no clue.
Excited to see it.
But good for him, because he got a lot of critical acclaim for this movie. So, and even if not critical acclaim, he got widespread acclaim from audiences. So I think that's good enough.
So far, 3 people have recommended it to me. So.
I've had it recommended at least twice. So I'm excited for it.
It's a good one.
So we'll see how that is. That'll be with Preston. Preston will be back. He was with my Mulholland Drive running mate. We were just trying to wrap our heads around the movie the whole time. I know you're a big David Lynch fan.
He's actually like my favorite director right now.
Yeah, he's really, really good. I gotta watch more of his stuff because I've only seen that and I've seen Twin Peaks.
Have you watched the Return season?
I have not.
Have you watched Fire Walk with Me?
I have not.
No.
I really gotta dive into it.
You watched the first 2 seasons of Twin Peaks though?
Yes.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yes. It's
Solid
really good stuff. Very, very, very odd stuff.
I love the strangeness though.
It is. It's really, really interesting. It's a big it's a big divergence from a lot of people that do cinema stuff. You know, like Scorsese will have the random montage moments in his movies, but they feel more like spiritual, or like people finding like spiritual things happen to them.
Yeah.
Whereas kind of like, this is gonna probably sound dumb, but
hit it.
David Lynch's movies are spiritual experiences.
Yeah.
Rather than you watching someone experience a spiritual experience.
Yeah, it's something within yourself rather than
the movie's made for you.
Yes.
Not made to service the characters necessarily. So it's what I really enjoy about him for sure. He's a very honest filmmaker too. He's hilarious too. That one scene in Mulholland Drive when the assassin is just fucking up over and over and over. It's so funny.
He has some really
witty
moments.
Too. I love it.
Yeah. There's just like a sneak peek of the Return season. There's a murderer on the loose who is a midget.
Oh.
And his name is Tiny Mike, and he is just running around killing people with a knife. He doesn't say anything throughout the entire show, but he just kills like 5 people with a knife. Just pulls up, kills people with a knife. Just insanity in that show. And I approved it.
Nice, man. Yeah. That sounds awesome. I'm definitely looking forward to that.
Highly recommend.
Looking forward to Tiny Mike in the Return season. Yeah, I think that's where we're going to leave it off with Tiny Mike.
Tiny Mike.
Thank you to anyone who's watching. Thank you to anyone who listened on audio. Go follow us on Instagram. Our links are everywhere, so just find it.
You look hard enough. You will.
Yeah, I'm not gonna guide you to the link. Yeah, thank you guys. This was Zach. We have been finding Daughters of the Dust. Next week we'll find Barbarian, and that's it. Thank you. Peace out, everybody.